The Justin Fields era has officially begun. Our Chicago Bears, led by new rookie quarterback Justin Fields, will be taking on the Cleveland Browns this weekend in Cleveland for a third game of the 2021 NFL season. Before we get into this video, guys, I want to talk about the sponsor of this video, FANDUEL, okay, specifically FANDUEL Daily Fantasy. I know a lot of you guys out there play fantasy, okay, fantasy football, which is year-long, but there's also something called daily fantasy or weekly fantasy, which is what FANDUEL does, and in that, you can draft a new lineup every single weekend, okay? You can pick whoever you think is going to do the best during that week, and there's so many different contests you can enter if you think you know which players are going to perform well during that given week. And it's a lot of fun, guys, because you have to budget the salaries adequately, okay? So you usually have like $60,000, for example, to spend between a couple different positions, okay? Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, etc. And obviously the good players are going to be worth a lot more money. The bad players are going to be worth less money. So you have to, kind of identify which budget players are going to perform beyond their dollar value. You can see, guys, it's a lot of fun, and there's also a ton of other contests out there too on this app. I mean, you can do bad quarterback leagues where you have to predict which quarterbacks are going to play badly during that weekend. There's head-to-head where you can match up against one other person and just go head-to-head and wager whatever amount you want to wager in that contest. And if you have a better lineup than that person, you win all the money. So I would highly recommend you guys download this app. It's a lot of fun. I've been using it for a while. So if you guys want to download the app, I have a link down below in my description box and also in the comment section as well, pinned in the comments. And if you guys use my link, you can actually get a match up to 20% on a deposit up to $500. So that could be some more free money for more contests to enter, okay? And it does greatly benefit my channel if you guys sign up using my link. So if you guys would do so, I would greatly appreciate it. But either way, guys, I'd recommend this app. It's a lot of fun. What's going on, guys? I'm back with the Chicago Bears prediction videos, which I'll be doing every single week this year. So if you guys want more prediction videos from me, be sure to subscribe to this channel. But in today's video, guys, I'll be breaking down and analyzing the game coming up between the Chicago Bears and the Cleveland Browns this weekend. And it is going to be an exciting game because, like I mentioned, our rookie quarterback will be making his first ever start in the NFL. And what better state to make his first start than Ohio, okay? The same state where he dominated in college football, the same state where he went undefeated as a starter at Ohio State at home, okay? 10-0 in the state of Ohio. So that's a fun storyline to watch. There's probably going to be some Browns fans that are Justin Fields fans too, because Ohio State is pretty close to Cleveland, right? Like I think it's only like 2 hours away. So there's definitely going to be some conflicted Browns fans that want to root for the success of Justin Fields, but they obviously are going to be rooting for Baker Mayfield over him because that's their quarterback. And us Chicago fans are going to be rooting for our guy, Justin Fields, now. And I do have to say, guys, before I get into breaking down this game, that we should have reasonable expectations for Fields, okay? Don't expect him to be a superstar right away because I have to reiterate, he's only 22 years old, okay? He is super young, making his first ever start in the NFL. So are mistakes going to come? Yeah, most likely, okay? Is he going to look like a rookie sometimes? Yeah, most likely. But there's also going to be some flashes of just absolute brilliance and excellence that come along with it, which is why I'm so excited to watch this game, okay, with our new quarterback, Justin Fields. But getting into this game, guys, obviously the Bears are coming off a pretty nice win against the Bengals. Okay, it was way closer than it should have been. We were dominating that game for the majority of that game, but our offense just cannot score many points. Okay, we only put up 13 offensive points, even though our defense got 4 turnovers. We got 5 sacks as well. So not a great offensive performance by the Bears, but a dominant, bounce back performance by the Bears defense that struggled to open the year. So, good play by the Bears defense. But then going to the Browns then, okay, so they're coming off a win last weekend against the Houston Texans, which, that's the Texans, okay? They lost their starting quarterback to Tyrod Taylor to injury. So that was not really like an impressive win, I would say, but they still, got their business done and won that game in the end. And the first week, obviously, they barely lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, which was actually a pretty impressive game for the Browns, okay? They had a lead in the second half, but they just let that lead slip away to Patrick Mahomes, which there's honestly not much shame in that, okay? Because he is the best to do it in the league right now. So top to bottom, man, I mean, the Browns are Super Bowl contenders this year in my eyes, okay? They have talent all across that roster. They have a super stacked offense. They have a super stacked defense on paper. The defense has not been performing as well to open the year, so that's something to keep an eye on, okay? It's still not as gelled as you would like it to be. They've not been having good performances. They've been pretty bad, in coverage going down the field. So, the Browns defense could be a weak point, but overall, they're still going to be a contender this year led by their quarterback, Baker Mayfield. So getting into the Browns offense a little bit more, I want to give you guys a breakdown of the Browns offense and what they're like, okay, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. And obviously the biggest strength of this Browns offense is going to be their running game, okay? They have one of the most dominant rushing attacks in all of football. They had one last year too with, Kevin Stefanski here, and just getting 2 top 10 backs in here as well, okay, in the system, which in my opinion, that's what Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are, okay? Both of them could probably be starting backs on a good portion of teams in this league, and they're just lucky they have that much running back talent, okay? Both of them are capable of going off for 1,000 yards in any given year. They both have, really good speed. They have good agility. They have good power as well, especially Nick Chubb, man. I mean, this guy is such a unique blend of speed and power that he's impossible to break down, okay? If you look at the stats, since 2017, okay, Nick Chubb is tied for 3rd in yards per carry. He's number 1 in yards after contact per carry. So again, guys, he's so hard to bring down because he doesn't go down without a big fight, okay? And it's the same with Kareem Hunt too. I mean, if you look at the stats for Kareem Hunt is tied for 12th in yards after contact per carry. He's tied for 3rd in the NFL for missed tackles forced per attempt. So both of these guys, as a duo, okay, you have one and then you have the other. Like, both of them are constantly coming at you the entire game, and it is so hard as a run defense to game plan for that because you're going to be tired at the end of this game with how much they want to run the football, okay? The Browns are also number 3 so far in the NFL in yards, rushing yards per game, and they're number 5 in rushing yards per attempt. So clearly, the run game is working for them like it has, the last few seasons here as well. Now, a big reason why the run game actually works, though, is the Browns' dominant offensive line. And make no mistake about it, guys, that's exactly what this Browns offensive line is, okay? It is probably the best offensive line in the entire NFL, okay? The best starting 5. You got Jedrick Willis, you got Joel Bitonio, you got J.C. Treadler, you got Wyatt Teller, you got Jack Conklin, too. I mean, these guys are some of the best at their respective positions in the entire NFL, and they have 5 of them on the same offensive line. So, I mean, last year they were ranked number 2 in pass protection in the NFL. They were also ranked number 3 in run blocking. So they're clearly as good in pass protecting as they are in run blocking. That makes for a very unpredictable offense. Okay, where do you attack them as a defense if they're equally as good as running the ball as they are at passing the ball, at least in terms of the offensive line? So clearly one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, if not the best. But if you look at the receiving options right now, look at the receiving threats, we are getting extremely lucky because their number 1 receiver, Jarvis Landry, is not going to be playing in this game due to an injury. And that is absolutely huge for the Bears and their chances of winning because we honestly don't have the most talent in the secondary right now. Like, we have Jalen Johnson, we have, Eddie Jackson, Tashawn Gibson, but besides them, we don't have any other proven things on the secondary. So getting Jarvis Landry out of here, okay, by far the number 1 option on this offense for Baker Mayfield, that's going to be a big boost for this Bears defense. Also looking at, Odell Beckham, he's most likely going to return in this game, but he's still not 100% certain to play just yet, okay? He was asked about it today, which I'm recording this on Thursday morning, and he still has not committed to playing so far, even though he was a full go in practice. So if I had to guess, he's most likely going to play on Sunday, but he could be at least a little bit limited to some extent because he hasn't played a football game in almost a year, okay? And obviously he couldn't go through full training camp and all that because he was still recovering from his ACL tear. So even though Odell Beckham is one of the best receivers in the NFL when healthy, okay, this guy's a generational talent when healthy, he just has not been healthy over the past few years, right? And that's why losing Jarvis Landry, guys, it hurts so much because this guy was by far Baker Mayfield's number 1 option going down the field, and Baker's not going to have him anymore for this game. He still has other options too, though, besides Odell, besides, Landry, who's gone. He has Rashard Higgins, who they signed this offseason, who's been, I would say, decent for them so far. He hasn't really done much yet, but he's a good depth option. They also drafted a guy, Demetric Felton. Okay, this guy was a running back in college, but he's kind of converting to being more of a receiving back. And last game against the Texans, okay, he had a pretty good play there, and he's obviously a threat to catch the ball out of the backfield or as a receiver, so they clearly still have some receiving talent. They also have a pretty good tight end duo, okay? They have both David Njoku, they have Austin Hooper, who they signed this offseason, who both Hooper and Njoku, they're both top 5 on the Browns in receiving yards, so clearly the tight ends are being targeted a lot by Baker Mayfield so far. So it still is not a receiving core that lacks talent, but not having Jarvis Landry, guys, that's huge, for the Bears and the chances of winning. So that's the Browns offense. I didn't talk about Baker Mayfield, but we already know what Baker Mayfield is. I mean, he's a dominant play action passer. He can go down the field and be accurate with the ball. And when you surround him with talent like the Browns have, he can actually be a pretty capable passer in this league. Okay, so Baker is a very capable quarterback, and the Browns offense as a whole is very talented. So it's going to be a tough matchup for this Bears defense. But going to the Browns defense then, talking about the Browns defense, so they actually made a bunch of big moves over this offseason. They signed, Troy Hill, John Johnson from the Rams, who John Johnson was actually one of the better safeties in the NFL last year. So that was a big get for them over this offseason. They also, drafted some pretty talented guys. They drafted Greg Newsome, who a lot of you guys probably know from NW, okay, from Northwestern. This guy was one of the most talented corners in the league, in college football last year. And he's already, playing pretty well for them so far this year. They also got Jeremy Owosu, however you say his name, okay? I'm sorry I'm butchering his name, but that guy, he's a linebacker. He's pretty fast. He's like a Swiss Army knife, okay? So that was also a pretty good addition for them on this defense. But honestly, guys, the Browns defense has not lived up to the hype on paper just yet, okay? Even though they probably have one of the most talented defenses on paper, it is not translated into an actual good defense on the field just yet, okay? If you look at the points they allowed the last few games, okay? They allowed 33 to the Chiefs, which I get that that's the Chiefs, okay? So you are going to allow a lot of points to them, but they obviously were not good against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And then last weekend against the Texans, they allowed 21 points, but they allowed 14 at halftime, okay? And Tyrod Taylor went down in that game. When Tyrod Taylor was in that game, they were actually moving the ball down the field pretty well against this Browns defense. So this Browns defense, man, still has a lot of question marks. They're also 25th in the NFL in yards allowed per pass attempt at 12.1. So they're giving up a lot of big explosive plays going down the field. They have not been good in rushing the passer, okay? The 24th in sack percentage in the NFL, even though their defense has Myles Garrett, they have Jadeveon Clowney too. Like, they have a lot of talented guys in this defensive front, but it's not translated into actual pressures, into actual sacks, into actual QB hits. So this Browns defense, man, I mean, it's so talented on paper, and I think it's going to eventually figure it out, okay? I think maybe by like week 7, week 8, they could be a pretty dominant defense. They could be a top 10, somewhere around their defense, because they do have the talent. But we're lucky that week 7, week 8 is not now, okay? It's only week 3, and they still could have some struggles judging by their film from the last few games, okay? They're not as cohesive of a unit as they would like to be so far. Let me talk about the Chicago Bears now, talking about their offense a little bit. And obviously the biggest thing to talk about with the Bears offense right now is going to be that we have a new quarterback starting in here, rookie quarterback Justin Fields, okay? And obviously Bears fans are super excited about this guy. The entire world is waiting to see how Justin Fields is going to perform, and there's going to be a ton of pressure on this kid, obviously, okay? So I'm not, again, expecting him to be a superstar right away, but this offense is going to look a lot more explosive, a lot more dynamic with Justin Fields at the helm. This is a guy that runs a 4.4 40-yard dash, one of the fastest quarterbacks in the NFL right now. So he has the speed to be a dual threat quarterback, get these runs every once in a while, but he also is a very capable passer going down the field, okay? If you look at his college stats, he was one of the most accurate college passers of all time in college football, okay? He has a very good deep ball. He has a very good, release on the ball. He throws a very beautiful spiral too, okay? Obviously his mechanics are not the most conventional. You saw, draft people harp on him for that, okay? For having his arm up too high when he throws the football. But at the end of the day, none of that actually matters if you can get the ball where it needs to be in time and accurately, okay? And that's exactly what Justin Fields did in college. So, you saw the last game against the Bengals. I mean, Justin Fields, he's already attempting a lot of passes going down the field more, okay? So if you look at his intended air distance per attempt last game, it was actually double that of Andy Dalton. So with Andy Dalton, we expected more of a dink and dunk style of offense. This offense with Justin Fields now is going to be more of a explosive, home run hitting style of offense. At least that's what we're going to try to be, okay? I don't know if it's actually going to succeed, but if our offensive tackles can hold up in pass protection, which they actually have been doing recently, okay? The last game against the Bengals, both Jermaine Ifedi and Jason Peters were some of the highest graded offensive tackles in the entire NFL that weekend, okay? They were actually pretty solid. It's our interior that was not good last weekend. So if we can get the pass protection going, if Nagy can be a little bit more creative with his play calling, if Justin Fields can attempt more passes going down the field, this Bears offense could actually be pretty excited, because we do have the weapons, guys. We have a guy in Darnell Mooney who can run really fast going down the field. We have a guy in A-Rob who can catch contested balls. We have Marquise Goodwin now, a lot of depth. We have Cole Kmet for the middle of the field. So we do have some talent on this offense, guys. It's just up to the quarterback now to elevate this offense where it needs to be. And hopefully Justin Fields can do that in time. But that's the Bears offense. Going to the Bears defense now. Obviously the big story on the Bears defense right now is that we're most likely going to get Eddie Goldman and Mario Edwards back on the D-line, which is just absolutely huge for our chances of winning this game, because those are two of our best run stuffers on our team. Okay, I would say that AKIEM Hicks is up there. Khalil Mack is obviously up there too, but Eddie Goldman is by far the best run stopper on our entire team, because the way that he plays nose tackle, man, I mean, he eats up those gaps. He's such a large human, so it's just hard to account for him as an offensive line. And just adding him onto this Bears defensive front, which has actually been pretty good against the run so far. Okay, we're number 5 as a defense in least rushing yards per game given up, and also least rushing yards per attempt given up. Just adding both these guys could make a run defense that much better. And, you know, we're obviously going to need that to beat this Browns team, because the Browns have one of the best rushing attacks in all of football. And looking at the rest of the defense, guys, I mean, obviously it's been a tale of two games. Okay, the first game against the Rams, our defense looked absolutely horrible. Okay, we looked lost. We were giving up big explosive plays going down the field, and it just looked like a very bad defense. But then last weekend, the Bears defense looked like its 2018 self. Okay, we got 5 sacks, we got 4 turnovers. So I really don't know what the real Bears defense is at this point in time. Okay, are we going to be more like the performance against the Rams, or more like the performance that we had against the Bengals? If I had to guess, it's probably going to be somewhere in the middle. So I think we could be, you know, maybe an above average defense with the talent that we have on this team, but I just don't know if we're going to stay at that same dominant level that we saw last weekend. But I honestly hope I'm wrong, okay, because we do have a lot of talent on this team. We have Khalil Mack, we have AKIEM Hicks, Roquan Smith, Jalen Johnson breaking out too. But let's see what the Bears defense does in this game against the talented Browns offense. Let me get to my 3 keys to Bears victory now, okay? How can the Bears actually win this game against a very tough opponent, okay, the Cleveland Browns? And key number 1, guys, is going to be to make Baker Mayfield beat you through the air, okay? If the Bears can force this rushing attack to not be as dominant as it has been, okay, to limit it to some extent, to at least hold both of the running backs, okay, both Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, to under 50 yards each, I think the Bears have a very good chance of winning this game, guys. And I think that's honestly possible with how good our run defense has been to open the year. I know it sounds crazy to say that we can limit this very good Browns rushing attack, but if Eddie Goldman especially comes back, okay, by far our best run stopper on this team, who's to say we can't do it, okay? We have big boys on this defensive front. We have AKIEM Hicks, we have Eddie Goldman, Bilal Nichols, Mario Edwards coming back too, also one of our best run stoppers on this team. So I'm just thinking, if the Bears can clog up these running lanes and, you know, force the Browns to pass the ball more than they like with Baker Mayfield, we could force Baker Mayfield into some mistakes, guys. Okay, even though he's a pretty underrated quarterback, he's still a good quarterback overall. He's not the same level of elite like, you know, Aaron Rodgers is, or Patrick Mahomes is, or Tom Brady is, okay? He's still a little bit limited when he's asked to throw the ball like 40 times a game, okay? I don't know if he can do that because he relies so heavily on this run game and the play action that comes with it. So if the Bears can limit this rushing attack, man, I mean, we have a very good chance of winning this game. Key number 2 then, guys, is going to be to get off to an early lead in this game. I know that sounds pretty general for most games, but especially for this game, guys, if we get off to an early lead of like 7-0, or if we're leading it all going into the half, I mean, this Browns team is not good when playing from behind, okay? That's because they want to run the ball down your throat. They want to dominate time of possession with these great backs that they have. But if they're playing from behind, okay, if they're behind by 7 points, by 10 points, something like that, they'll be forced to throw the ball, you know, eventually. And that's just not what they want to do on this team, okay? Kevin Stefanski has shown that his ideal game plan is to go up by like 10, 14 points at the half and just continually run the ball down the opposing team's throats. After that, in the second half, just dominate time possession and just prevent the other team from having much of a chance to score, because they won't be getting the ball for that long. But if you're the Chicago Bears, you cannot allow that to happen, okay? If I were the Bears, and if I win the coin toss, guys, first of all, I would choose to receive the ball in the first half, okay? I know a lot of coaches don't like to do that, but especially in a game like this, guys, if you can go down the field and score a touchdown on your first drive, that would be huge for the Bears' chances of winning this game. And then finally, the last key is going to be to incorporate Justin Fields' speed in this offense, okay? Matt Nagy, I'm looking at you right now, okay? You have a quarterback that is the fastest you have ever worked with in your entire time coaching, okay? At any level, most likely, okay? I know you coached other places too, but you've never had a quarterback this fast, okay, with this specific skill set. So we got to use his speed to our advantage. I'm not saying to turn him into Lamar Jackson or anything. Don't have him run like every other play, but some design quarterback runs, okay? Some QB draws, some play action. You can get him rolling around the bootlegs too. Like there's a lot of different things you could do as a head coach to use, Justin Fields' speed to your advantage, which is something that we have to do to win this game, okay? Because this Browns defense still on paper is pretty talented, guys. So don't think that just because they haven't performed well yet, that doesn't mean that they're not going to perform well in the future, okay? They definitely could perform well in this game. And to have a guy like Justin Fields at the quarterback position that can make the defense look silly by himself, I mean, the defense would have to account for that. They would have to put a linebacker out there on the spy. And also, looking at the RPOs, man, I mean, that's going to be way more effective with the quarterback like Justin Fields, because the defensive end, I mean, they're going to be shaking out of their shoes if Justin Fields decides to take off with the football and he makes the correct read on the RPO. So I think overall, man, you have a quarterback this fast, you have to use his speed to your advantage. But then finally, guys, let me get to my score prediction for this game. Who do I have winning this matchup? And I have the Chicago Bears, led by rookie quarterback Justin Fields, going into Cleveland and coming out of there with a dub by the score of 24-23. I know this is going to be a very unpopular pick. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with it in the comments. But guys, the reason why I picked this is because I really believe the Bears defense can limit this Cleveland Browns rushing attack. That is honestly the only reason. I know that we have a rookie quarterback in here that we're super excited about, and I think he's going to perform well too, but I don't expect him to be the superstar in this game. I expect the Bears run defense to be the superstar in this game, the superstars of this game, because they are very capable of shutting down or at least limiting this very explosive Cleveland Browns rushing attack, especially if we get Eddie Goldman back. I mean, honestly, I should put a disclaimer in my prediction that I'm only going to predict the Bears to win if Eddie Goldman is indeed playing in this game, because he's that important to our run defense, and adding him to a run defense that was already pretty good, that's going to put us over the top, in my opinion, to limiting this Browns rushing attack. Okay, so I think the Bears defense can limit this Browns offense to only scoring 23 points, which for an offense this good would be a hell of a job for the Bears defense. I think the Bears offense can do just enough to sneak by and get the big upset win. Again, I'm not expecting Justin Fields to be a superstar in this game. I think he will actually make a few mistakes. He might throw a pick, but I also think he's capable of getting, 220, 240 passing yards and maybe 2 passing touchdowns too, because there are going to be some pretty exciting plays coming out of rookie quarterback in this game. Okay, we might see a 30-yard bomb to air out. We might see a big 30-yard rush by Fields. We might see a big play on the RPO, something like that. So even though I think Fields won't be a superstar in this game, I think he will be good enough to put up 24 points on this Browns defense, which honestly would be a pretty good feat, pretty good accomplishment for this Bears offense, judging by how bad they've been over the last few years. So that's my prediction for this game, guys. I think we will get the upset victory. As for my MVP predictions for offense, I have Darnell Mooney. I think that Darnell Mooney, using his speed going down the field, that could be a big asset to this Bears offense, which I feel like we haven't used enough throughout the first 2 games of the year. So I think that Darnell Mooney gets a touchdown and also, let's say, like 60 yards too, okay? And that would be a pretty good performance for Mooney. And then going to the defensive MVP, I have that being AKIEM HICKS, actually, okay? I know I said that Eddie Goldman would be the most important player on this defense, but I think that due to Eddie Goldman, clogging up all the lanes in the middle, I think that's going to free up AKIEM HICKS to actually get more on the stat sheet. So I think that AKIEM HICKS is actually going to get, a sack, a few nice run stops as well, and he's going to look better on the stat sheet as compared to Eddie Goldman. But I think that both men are going to be pretty important in this game. But that pretty much wraps up my video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Definitely leave your comments down below if you guys have any predictions, if you guys want to debate, any of my predictions here. Definitely leave your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments. But I just cannot wait for this game, guys. I've been waiting so long for a rookie quarterback to finally start a game, and it is finally happening, okay? I know it happened due to injury. I hope that Andy is going to be okay in the future, but I'm so excited that we finally get a chance to see probably the most talented quarterback prospect in the history of the Chicago Bears play for our team. So cannot wait for this game, guys. I really hope the Bears win. Leave your comments down below again, but as always, bear down.